Hello, San Antonio. This is a special shout out to Major A.T. Brainerd. Okay, I know he's retired Lieutenant Colonel Brainerd by the records, but to me, he'll always be Major Brainerd. This is Rod Madden in Windermere, Florida. I know some of you in the room, some I don't, but I hope you're having a great time regardless. Let me tell you a few things about Major Brainerd. He was an amazing leader. He was a great inspiration, a mentor, and he's someone who put a lot of trust in a group of wet behind the ears GIs who thought they knew how to run a radio and TV station with the guidance of folks like Pete Richards. And somehow we were able to pull it off. Not necessarily by the rules and regulations as written by AFRTS, but we certainly had a great time. And I think our listeners and our viewers benefited from it just as much as we enjoyed doing it. I have one story about Major Brainerd. He used to give parties at his house, and he served something called artillery punch. Now, they didn't call it that for no good reason. Let me tell you, it did pack a punch. I remember one particular evening when I had imbibed, more than my share of artillery punch. That evening, I put the moves on a young Italian lady who eventually became my wife. We'll celebrate 44 years in November. So, Major Brainerd, I don't know if it was the artillery punch, but I'm going to give you credit for it anyway. All I can say is many more happy years to you, to all the gang there in San Antonio. Great city. Have a fantastic weekend and lots of margaritas as well. Take care.
Greetings to all you Kagnew vets at San Antonio. My name is Phil Urey. I arrived at Kagnew Station in early June of 1970 as a French linguist working out at Track C. But within a couple of weeks, I began volunteering at the radio and TV station. And pretty soon I found out that many, if not most, of the people who worked at the station were not assigned to the station. They were volunteers. And somewhere up in the Mount Olympus of the base administration among the demigods, there was this A.T. Brainerd, a major officer in charge of the station. But he was kind of a benevolent overlord. He kind of got out of the way and let us run the station pretty much the way we thought it should be run. We had a great time doing the job every day. Now, A.T. was instrumental in getting me to be able to work full-time at the television station after a couple of months. So I never went back to Track C after that. I even earned the 71R broadcast journalist MOS by on-the-job training, but of course it had the language identifier still, and so I was told that what I really was a propaganda broadcaster. I never got to use it that way. We had such a great time. We did Apollo moonshots, we did kiddie science shows, we did creature features on Saturday night, and of course the news every evening. We were at the end of the world, or at least it seemed that way. We were definitely at the end of the supply chain. And one of the things I remember most is that we did not always have the teletype news available to us. We had AFRTS news service over the teletype, but it was HF. And so when the atmospherics were bad, we could not get it. So we'd grab any signal we could find. We ended up with a lot of Reuters, and even at times we had to use the Soviet news service TASS. Did a lot of rewriting for that. It was a great time. Thanks, AT. You guys have a great time in San Antonio.
Hey, Major Brainerd. This is Radioman Third Class Fred Costantini. Although you may remember me, and anybody who was at Asmara in 1970 and 71, by my on-air name, which in those days was my two middle names, Alan Christopher. I just want to say to you, I've just completed a 50-year career in broadcasting, almost all of that in TV news, and I owe it to you because you let me come from the Nave Comstay at Asmara over to AFRTS and become an anchor there. It was my first TV gig ever. I'd done radio, but no TV. And I learned how to function on TV. And I was the only Navy guy on the air in that Army unit. So I was this navy blue dot in a sea of Army green. And you made that possible. So I just want to thank you. And remember the idiosyncrasies at AFRTS in those days. Remember, we had color TV cameras in the studio, although we broadcast in black and white. And there was no teleprompter. So, you know what that does? It means you've got to learn to react on camera because you can't just read it as it goes by. It's good training for a young guy who is just trying to get into TV. You made that possible. So thank you, Major Brainerd, and I hope that next year I'll see you in person at the next reunion. Thanks.